as a starting space. Let us pray. Father God, we love you. We thank you for the Lord Jesus Christ. We thank you for these faithful folk that came out tonight and this bad weather. Father, we give those that have been here along the way, you give them driving mercies and bring them safely. Father God, now we ask that you'll have your will and way in this time and this lesson this evening. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Let's just take a look we'll look at the story. It's in two places. We can look at it in Acts chapter 22, but I think I want to look at it over in Acts chapter number 9. All right, so let's take a look at Acts chapter 9. You'll see something happening now. Or maybe no. Let's look at it in Acts 22. In Acts 22, we'll see the previous piece of the story, and then we will continue that piece of the story, the remainder. All right, so in Acts chapter 22, Paul is talking, and let's just read a little bit. It says in 22, starting at verse number 1, he says, "Man, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto you." And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he said, so here it is, now Paul begins to talk. And the people realize, wow, not only does he speak Hebrew, but he speaks the, all right, in the British tongue, they'll say the Queen's English. But he's speaking now the best, a high quality of Hebrew, which indicate that this man is a learned person. This is not the regular common person. This is an educated man. He says, "And I am verily a man which am a Jew." Now he gives his credentials. And so Paul spent some time talking a little bit about himself. But that's what people do when they're lost. And sometimes Christians do the same thing. We spend a lot of time focusing more on ourselves and less on the message. So Paul now is making a connection because he's about to do something and he wants their approval. And to get man's approval sometime, we have to give man the kind of accolades that they want to hear or see. He says, born of Tarsus, the city of Sicilia. He says, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel. And he says, I sat under the greatest teachers. So I'm not only, in other words, he's like Yale or Harvard or Cornell or Princeton graduate, you know. He's not Bethune-Cookman or FAMU. Right? He says, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law. Paul says, I know the law. I understand the law. You have questions about the law, that's my degree. That's my expertise. Paul says, I probably did my dissertation on the law. I know it backwards and forwards. And he's telling the truth. Right? He says, according to the perfect manner of the law, the fathers, he says, and was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day. Now he's talking to a bunch of people that feel the same way that he feels. Now a lot of us should be ashamed of ourselves when we look at what Paul is talking about here, because we're not as zealous as we ought to have been, or we should be. He says, as also the high priest, he says, I persecuted this way unto the death. This is now Paul is bragging to the religious crowd that this educated, this well-spoken Hebrew, alright, he's dragging that, I'm a student of the law. Paul said, I persecuted the Christians, not only just persecuted, but I killed some. Now, Paul didn't do any time for this. At the back of Paul, like we see him in jail, but jail for doing right, but free for doing wrong. Now, you talk about some of the paradoxes of the Bible. That's a big one. How in the world did he miss prison time for killing the Christians, but got prison time for just sharing the gospel? That makes any sense? It makes no sense to me, but that's what happens when we try to do right. So there are going to be times when you're going to do right, and your doing right is going to get you in a lot of trouble, and there are going to be times when you do wrong, and you're going to be accepted. Some folks, just because you're accepted when you're doing wrong, doesn't mean it's right. Paul was accepted in this behavior, but it was wrong. Paul paid no price by man for this behavior, but it was wrong. Alright? He says, as also the high priest, doth bear me witness. Now, not only Paul says, hey, you don't have to believe what I'm telling you. He says, talk to the high priest, talk to the big guy in charge religiously, and find out am I telling you the truth. Now, I'm telling you, he's pounding his chest. He's proud. He's happy about what he's doing. It's like you want doing something for the Charles, and you want to talk to another church, and you want them to accept you, and you say, hey, talk to Pastor Jenkins. I set up his system over there. I'm the one that makes the DVDs, these Facebook posts or whatever these are that we're doing. But he says, so he's using somebody in authority to give him cover. All right? He says, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus. Paul says, not only did I do it and they know about it, they're the ones that gave me the permission to do it. Paul is only thinking about what he's doing. So sometimes in our life, we may just be about the course of our regular business. God's on the back burner of our life. Or if he's there, we're just figuring how to get by and do something wrong and get away with it. Because that's all Paul was doing. Paul says, to bring them that were there bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished. So he was going to get them. He was going to tie them up, handcuff them, zip tie them, whatever they did then, and he was going to drag them into Jerusalem, and they were going to punish them. Throw them in jail, beat them, cat o' nine times, whips, kill them, I don't know, boil them in oil. I don't know what they did to the believers in that first church, but they did some of everything. You thought that we had it bad over slavery time. Christians had it somewhat worse. Doesn't justify it. Number 6. And it came to pass that as I made my journey and was come nigh unto Damascus, from noon suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. So here it is, he's on his way to do something that he had no business doing, that he had been doing for a while, that he had permission to do by the people supposedly in charge. Didn't consult God. Didn't consult Jesus Christ, because he didn't think Jesus Christ was who he said he was. But he was supposed to be a stalwart in the law. In other words, a godly man. A Pharisee, he says in chapter 3 of Philippians, of the Pharisees. Paul pounds his chest. I was the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the top of the class. There he is. Something happened. He says, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light around about me, and I fell unto the ground, and I heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? So here it is, God stopped him in his tracks, right on that road. And I believe if we look back in our lives, there were things that we could probably figure a time that we were gung-ho about something, we were about knee-deep into it sometimes, and God just did something to get us out of a mess that we didn't know how else we could get out of. And here's Paul, he wasn't thinking about God, and God showed up. And he just showed up and just knocked him off with his donkey to the ground. This brilliant light blinded Paul for the moment. He got his attention, and God began to speak. Now listen to me carefully. It would be interesting because sometimes God does that to us and stopping us from going after a job. Showing us some ugly in relationships that says to you, cut it off before you go any further. Sometimes even in some churches, he show you something that says to you, wow, that may not be a good opportunity or a good fit for me, and maybe I ought to, pitch my tent, with another crowd. But listen to me carefully, and sometimes we miss it. We overlook it. But Paul noticed something, because the Bible says he spoke to him, he called him by name. So whoever this wasn't a person. He didn't see anybody. He just heard a voice. He sees this giant light, and it calls him by his name. Charles! Charles! So he knows something. But then instantly he knew something else. When he heard that voice, it was a voice that he had heard before. Listen to me carefully. Sister Jenkins will know the voice of every child she owns if they call to her from anywhere at any time. Despite that, he may sound just like a normal American, but if her child is calling to her, she will know that's Jeremy. She'll know that's, I don't know the other names.
Jarrell.
I know Jarrell, all right, but I don't know the other two. But she'll know, right? My kids could be in the back room, and if one screams out, I know that's Louis, or I know that's Jonathan, or I know that's Tiana. They don't have to give their name. You know their voice. Why? Because of the familiarity, being around them, listening to them. Paul heard this voice on this Damascus road, and he instantly knew who it was. You know what's interesting? Paul was lost, and he knew the voice of Christ. Some of us, Brother Charles, have been saved for years. God's been screaming out to us in our ear. And we said, nobody, God hasn't talked to me yet. What are you waiting on? Every single day he says, don't do it. He brought up everything to you and he says, no, no, no. And we turn around and say, hey, I don't know. So listen, be careful. Sometimes we just have to go back in our lives and just take some time to look from the young areas of your life, and you might see God protecting you. I guarantee when Joseph looked back in his life, he saw that. He didn't know why he had that dream. The dream came to him from God. He didn't just go out and formulate something in his mind and says, I know my mom is dead, and she was the favorite wife of my dad, and now my brother and I, Benjamin and I, are his favorite kids. And therefore, I am going to do something to really incense my brothers by coming up with a story. No. He got a dream from God one night, and all he did was relay his dream. He told exactly the way God shared with him, but he had no idea how this was going to come to fruition. He didn't know his brothers were going to take him out one day when he brought them lunch, and they were going to drop him in a hole. Then they were going to leave him there to die. But then one decided, you know what, let's not kill him. Let's have mercy on him. That's the grace of God. Takes him out and sells him down into Egypt. And decides, you know what? Let's just dip his coat in some blood, show it to Daddy, tell Daddy he's dead. They had no idea what they were doing. But what did God say in the later book of Genesis? He says, you meant it for harm, but God meant it for good. Every now and again, when I look back over my life, Jenkins, I can't say it's been an angel. What I could say to you, it's an abnormal situation. It's not normal, Brother Charles, to visit with somebody for 15 minutes that you've never seen in your life before, that don't want nothing from you, other than something that you should want for yourself, and says, make this GPA and send the report card to my accountant, and I pay. That's as crazy as it was. And I never paid another bill at Bethune-Cookman College. I didn't get a letter from somebody that says, hey, Louis, I need this, you need to do this. Just a little card that's congratulations, keep up the good work. That's it.
Brother Teddy, is he still alive?
Couldn't be, can't be. He was 80 when, in 1980.
Really?
How could it, 80 in 1980 is 35 years? Wow, he'd have to be a Methuselah or one of those boys. No, I don't think so. All right? But it was one of those situations where that person comes into your life, all right, instrumental in your life, did whatever that purpose God had in store for him for whatever reason, and just disappeared out of your life into thin air.
When was the last time you saw him? I mean,
I went to, I spent a summer at his house. All right? And that's it. My mom was there in New York, and he invited us to what's the name of this place? Philadelphia. No, not Philadelphia, New Jersey. Right? It was the strangest thing that ever happened to me as a young 18-year-old. Because here I was. School was over for the summer. And I get a call from Mr. Riggle that says, Louis, don't worry. Your ticket will be at the airlines on Saturday, with the day the school ended. Because he's the one that encouraged that I go back to school that summer instead of staying home working. But there was 3 weeks difference between the end of the summer session and the beginning of the fall semester. And we had already discussed that for those 15 minutes. That was my concern. You know, I can go back. I can take this 8 weeks of classes, but then I got to get out of the dorm again. And I have to have somewhere to live for 3 weeks. And he says, don't worry, Louis, I'll have your ticket. So nothing, no phone number, there's no cell phones. I go to school by faith, and the day before the end semester, your plane ticket is at Pan American Airlines, who's running in those days. I don't know if there's such things as Pan American Airlines. And I remember it because all I know was I got this call to the dorm room, and I picked up the call. I go down the hall, they had those little pay phones, and somebody picked it up and said, Louis, you got a call. It knocked on my room door. I go down the hallway, I pick up the phone call, and he says, Louis, your ticket is at the Pan Am Airlines. All right, the flight is at 9:30 tomorrow morning. All right, and click. So I called Mom and I said, Mom, I'll be home tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning.
That was a collect call too.
That's it. And I go to the airport. It's 9:30. I get there. So, at that time you didn't have to go 2 hours before.
Right.
I get to the airport and I got my stuff packed. And I left all my trunk and stuff in storage at the school, and my little suit bag and my little book bag on my back. And I go to the ticket lady, and I said, give her my information, my driver's license, everything else. And there was my passport, and I'm sitting there, and she's looking at the system. She says, yes, we've got you. Your next flight's leaving, and same flight number you're talking about, but it says for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, what do you do? When you're an 18-year-old college kid, and you're kicked out the dorm, and you're in America, and you don't know nobody, you get on the plane. And I'm figuring now, for that 3-hour drive to Philadelphia, I don't know what I'm going to say. I figure, if I get off the plane, I'm going to get my bags, and I'm just going to throw myself on the first police officer I see, and say, this is what has happened, send me back to the Turks and Caicos. And I get on the plane, I'm just flying my flight, and I get there, and I follow the baggage claim, I grab my bags, and I walk out like everybody else, walking out into, I don't know where. Brother Charles, when I walked out that front door, and the doors open, I saw a stretch limo. I've never seen nothing like this before coming from there. I saw a donkey car. Yeah. I saw like a little motorcycle. I saw a bicycle for two. But I saw a stretch limo, Charles. And the door opens, and sitting in the back cab of the stretch limo was Mr. Riggle and Mrs. Riggle. And they jumped out and said, hi, Louis! Grabbed me, gave me a big hug, and I got into the stretch limo, and off we went. Drove for 2 hours. From Philadelphia to New Jersey. When we got out the stretch limo, we're into a place bigger than the Turks and Caicos. That's his acreage. I know it's Bayberry Farms. And he had one of these giant units. Apple orchards for as far as you can see. Strawberries, whatever they call those things, for the other distance you can see. I mean, if I was the photographer that I am now, and I just went on that little place, and I just took those pictures out, it has scenic shots galore. There I was. Mr. Riggle, Mrs. Riggle moved out of the master suite and gave me the master suite. Wow. I didn't even know how to turn. I don't want to put that on the video. Let's get back to that.
No, you gotta finish the story. You gotta finish the story. No, what happened?
Amen.
No, what happened?
But God.
What happened?
That's it. Nothing happened. God was good to me. That's all I got to say. So, look back in your life, and you see things that happen that you will come to that conclusion, God. So as you look back at my life and you see Brother Taylor trying to do some things, right? I was the recipient of some good gifts. I was the recipient of unmerited favor. I was the recipient of things I could never, ever do for certain people what was done for me. Yes, we try to help kids that go into college and do other stuff, but I will never be able to just say to that person, just send me the bill and write the check. Sometimes we have to look. It might have been just an accident. It might have been very late for a job. And all of a sudden, you go down that highway that you would have been at that space 5 minutes earlier had you got out the normal time you went. And you see 2 cars, 3 cars flipped upside down. I graduated with Bethune-Cookman College in 1984. On my first year at Bethune-Cookman College, I had 3 roommates, and Willie Bryan, Willie Nelson, and Willie Mills. So everyone roommates named Willie. I mean, it's Willie! Anybody could have. Huh?
What do you say, Willie?
Willie Bryan lives in Orlando, but he's passed now, but he lived in Orlando. When I moved to Orlando in 1995, me and Willie reestablished a relationship, and he would visit the house. He'd come with his wife, and we had my wife and I and Willie and his family, and we would always spend time together. Then Willie passed. But I never spoke with Willie Nelson or Willie Mills in that duration of almost 35 years. And then about a month ago, I got a call. I found Willie Nelson on Facebook, and I hit the friend request, and he accepted the friend request. And we just said, "Hey Lou, how you doing?" That kind of thing. But nothing of substance. But I could see in the background of his Facebook page, he's now Pastor Nelson. He could see that I'm running the Impact Outreach Ministry. But he never asked me what I was doing, and I never dig deeper into what he was doing. But I told Sister Taylor, you know what I'm going to do? Because she goes to her mom's every other weekend. And I said, you know what I'm going to do one Saturday? Since he had his ministry in St. Augustine, Florida, one Sunday when she's going to her mom's house, I'll just keep going. I'll drop her off, I'll keep going, and I'll just show up at the service and slide in the back and see what the world he's doing. And that's what we're thinking, and I never did it. A year go by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 4 years go by, I never went. 30 days ago, I got a call, middle of the night on Facebook Messenger that says, "Louis, hey, Brother Taylor, what's up?" He says, it's my 13th pastor's anniversary, and I'd like to know if you'd like to come and be our speaker. He says, Saturday night is Bethune-Cookman night. He said, I'd like to hear something from you, my brother. And so where was I Saturday night? In Wildcat Country. Okay, 35 years later. And there is about 20 people that we were in college together that are now in the full-time ministry, serving God, that you would have never thought would be in ministry today. And we just had a time of our lives. So you never know what it is that God will do. Okay? And so things happen into your life. Alright? That people step into your life. And then as night is from day. I don't know what kind of student Willie I was. I was focused on maintaining mine. Alright? I showed up late into the room back from the library, and they were snoring in bed. And if I was studying on the other side, the only thing I heard him say, that's all. I told him, please forgive me, because if I have a flashback tonight, and you just hear me scream, turn that light off over there. That's probably from the college time, where you're yelling to me to shut the light off. I'm thinking, man, I'm a long way from home. I got some money on the line. I'm going to get these grades. I don't know what's going on with you. You're probably getting bad scholarships. But that's what God will do. So if you go back into your life, and you stop every step, and you start to see when things were difficult, you will come to that realization, all right, that it's God. Charles, when I left to America for college, I left with $5,500 in my pocket. You know why $5,500? That's how much it was for the first year at Bethune-Cookman College. So I dropped $5,500 into the coffers of Bethune-Cookman College, and I don't know where the rest was going to come from. But I came by faith. And I told you what else happened. And I didn't have to worry about that. 1 second. And that was just the start of the money. Because as a second semester student, you know, they hired me to teach the high school students in the MARC program. Then they hired me to teach the science labs. Then they put me on the research. Because with the education now, they start noticing. I wasn't a U.S. citizen. I wasn't allowed to work. So Bethune-Cookman College, Bronson, took care of me. I had scholarships coming out of nowhere every single month. Louis Taylor was receiving a merit scholarship. I just went to the window and said, hey, I'd like to get my refund. And that was my working check. So, didn't live on campus anymore. Off campus, just having fun, but studying and studying and studying. Alright, but that's beside the point. But listen to me carefully. God has a way of doing things in our life that lets us know it's God. The problem is most people never see God. Because in this passage we look at, the next one we should look at, let's just go there. Ephesians chapter number 6. We're stepping maybe just a little ahead, but I don't want to get too much into slides tonight, only because when the folks come next week, we're probably going to have to go over them again. But this is what it says. This is what the Bible says. The Bible says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might.
But where are you?
Ephesians chapter number 6 and verse number 10.
Okay.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. What it says, he said, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. It tells us that, wow, we're always up against it, because the devil never slumbers, he never sleeps. The Bible says he's roaring about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He says in verse number 12, he says, for we do what? Wrestle not against flesh and blood. If I could get the people of God to recognize that the difficulties, the things that go on in your life, it's not by who you think it is. Just like we should stop in our life and find some of those positive things that we could not understand and attribute those to God, we better look at some of the negative things in our life and attribute it to the person that is attributed to. He says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Sister Jenkins, your problem is not with Brother Jenkins. I don't care what's going on. You got that on tape? Because I said we send that tonight. Let's just shoot that right. Maybe checks it out during break. Hey, but let's look at it. He says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Sister Norma, it's not you and I. It's not you and your husband. It's not you and your children. It's not you and the neighbors. It's not you and your boss. It's not you and the job. Most people, Brother Charles, they see their problems with there's somebody close to them and they think it's flesh and blood. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. But he gives you the answer. He says, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So he gives you 4 categories of forces out there that you don't even prepare for every day, that's in the battle with you. And then when they hit you low, and they knock you down, you blame the person sitting next to you. Blame the person in the next cubicle over. You blame the boss. You blame the folks on the job. You blame somebody else. Jealousy or something else. When the truth of the matter is, we're in a spiritual battle. We're up against forces that understands we are. You heard me say it before in Bible college, and we had this guy came, and he was teaching the chapel one night, and he says, the devil knows where your goats die. And at that moment, in 1987, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What it means, he knows, Sister Norma, he knows exactly what will get you going. He knows exactly what will get you upset. He knows what will get you off your game. He's been watching you closer than you've been watching yourself. We mentioned it last week when he showed up in heaven. He had the details. He could say to God, I can't take Job because you got a hedge of protection around him. But Satan went deeper, Sister Norma. He says the hedge is not only around him, but around his children. But he gets deeper. He says it's not even just around him and his children. It's around his very possessions. I can't touch him. Huh? Job could have put a sign over that says you can't touch this. Satan recognized that. So the question is, what can he do to us? We're in a spiritual war. Alright? So these are real forces that we deal with every single day. And he says you're not going to get victory over it by really locking and latching into someone else. We need to recognize that God uses people sometimes to strengthen us so that we can reach our fullest potential for his glory. But also the devil uses situations and circumstances and people to get us to get discouraged and give up in this fight. Get us looking at each other. There's been a lot of divorces, a lot of separations, a lot of families not talking simply because the people involved thinks that the fight is with them. And it's the devil all the time. Plotting and plotting and plotting. Therefore, God says you got to put on the whole armor. He says if you just put on some head protection, he'll take you out in the chest. He says if you put your head protection and some chest protection, he'll take you out in the midsection. He says if you take the head and the chest and the midsection, he'll take you out with the loins. He says if you just take the loins out, he'll take you out with the feet. Devil doesn't care what it takes. He doesn't care how long it takes. Doesn't care who he has to use. He will get to us. So he goes on, he says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness, against spiritual rulers of the darkness of the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. He says, wherefore, he says, if you're going to be successful, if you're going to have victory, if you're going to stand, if you're going to be able to withstand this onslaught, he says, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, not partial. That's what happened. Some Christians are going to the battle with only a partial armor. They can't fight. They can't protect themselves. They're no match for the devil. They're not having any quality time. They don't have a prayer life. They're not reading and studying their Bibles. But they think they can take him on. Listen to me carefully. We're losing. He's eating our lunch because two things we're failing to do. You know what they are, Sister Norma? The Christian has two offensive weapons. But Charles, what are they?
Prayer.
One, yes sir, that's it. That's a powerful weapon. That's one of them.
And reading the Bible.
The Word of God. That's it. See? So now let's ask you, how great is your offense or defense against him if you're not in this book and you're not on your knees? See, he knows that. Satan knows if you had study time today. But let's go a little bit deeper now. I'm going to get low and hide behind my computer here. He knows when was the last time you had the study time. He don't mind that you record this, Brother Charles. He doesn't care if you voice this or you view this or you broadcast this to all of Facebook and all the entire world. as long as you did not read this book today and you did not get on your knees today, he's figuring, I'm okay. I have a window into his life. Because that video doesn't help him. That video may help someone else. But what helps us is our time in the Word of God and our time of prayer. He says, wherefore take unto you the whole arm of God, that you may be able to withstand. He says, stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth. And then he tells you every piece that you need to put on. Every area of your body is covered. He says, and having your breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. He says, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. He says to take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. He says that's the key. Have to have faith. I mean, when you look at this text verse, you could see the doctrine of salvation. Right? You could see the helmet of salvation. First you see the shield of faith. Then you see the helmet of salvation. Then you see the praying. You see the word of God. Then you see the prayer. You will see you will see a picture of the doctrine of soteriology taking place in that text. So as we get into our study on angels and demons, it's important for us to recognize that we're not just in concert with other people. There are other forces that are at work right around us and on us that we miss every single day. We don't like to think about it because you said, man, that's spooky stuff and I don't like to believe that. But that's what the Bible just said. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh, but he says but against principalities and a comma. So principalities are different from powers. Then he says against powers. What's a comma? So principalities are one unit, powers are another unit. He says against rulers of the darkness of this world. Then he says against spiritual wickedness in high places. We'll get there. You'll see that angels have personalities. Not only do they have personalities, they have divisions. They have hierarchy. They have a purpose. Problem is, the people of God have a purpose, but they're not always faithful. Satan has fallen, but he's not faithful to his cause. Every single day, the Bible says, like a roaring lion, never gives up. Brother Charles, he doesn't care how many times he loses a battle with you, he'll be back. We go soul winning to someone, and they curse us out, we give up. We try to reach a friend, we try to help somebody out, and they don't appreciate what we did, we write them off or cut them off. Satan never tires, never gives up. He doesn't care if Brother Taylor's standing today, that's okay. He'll be back tomorrow. And if somehow I weather that onslaught tomorrow, he'll be back on Thursday. Never gets tired. Alright, so organization of angels. Maybe we'll start one slide back. And I'm probably going to have to review it. Alright, so we talked about the fact of their organizations. Angels are highly organized creatures, or creations of God. So we talked about the numbers of angels last time, so we'll talk a little bit today about the fact of the organization. We just shared with you. Same thing is true. Demons are highly organized. when we get to demonology, we're going to see, we're going to read some passages. You're going to see those demons are there. You're going to see the demons speaking out from the individuals. You'll see the demons talking and engaging Christ. You'll see the demons acknowledging, Jesus I know. Paul I know. But who are you? In other words, the demons know whether you're half-stepping. The demons know whether you're fully in. They know if you're saved or not. They know. Right? They know if you're just playing church. They know. Right? And so they know exactly what's going on. Just like they said in Job's life, we know who that guy is. We can't touch him. You got to give us permission. Notice that when God gave them that permission, they couldn't go any further than that level of security or entrance that God gave. Then they had to go back to get permission to go a little further. So we're talking about the fact of their organization. Scripture speaks of assemblies and councils of angels. Highly intelligent, highly organized units. They're meeting. They're discussing. They're scheming. They're planning. They're organizing. They're protecting. They're about the business. The good angels, you can see it. And always coming and talking to Mary. Coming and talking to Joseph. Alright? Sharing the things that needs to be shared. Equally so, we see the same thing happening with the red ones. They're also given governmental classifications, which indicate organizations and ranking. We saw that over in the text that we read, Ephesians chapter number 3, verse number 10. You see the rankings. Principalities, powers, rules of darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. So they might start down on the low rank with you, and if that guy can't make any way, they send in some reinforcements until you have to then do a one-on-one with Satan. The organization of angels, we talked about the ranking of angels, archangels. We see Michael all through Scripture. In Jude chapter number 9, but Jude 9, it's only one chapter of Jude. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16. You see the angel Michael, the archangel Michael is mentioned. So we have angels with specific names. They have specific duties. I believe it. I believe there's a death angel. I believe a death angel gives you a dying grace. I share with you, I've been around two people at the moments of death. And in both cases, there was something special about how they carried themselves. There was something special on how they talked. And I share with you, as I journeyed with my mom through this process, I share with you that when I went to see her, she was the one that was sick. She was the one that was dying. But she was the one that was encouraging me. She was the one that was telling me about her relationship with God and what she was seeing and what was happening and what the expectation was and how she was ready and prepared. And don't worry, I'm good. I'm ready to go. But not when you think I'm going with God. And I saw something there that, wow, I'm thinking, wow, the death of a saint is precious. That's what I learned. That's what I learned through that walk. Share with you that the hardest drive or the worst night of my life was driving to Miami and arriving there 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning after my brother called me and said, the doctor says, don't come back anymore. You see a young man that you grew up with, played marbles and spun tops and fish and dive. You see him go from 260 pounds down to 40-something pounds or 50-something pounds. You see him now finally about to give up and want to talk with you at the last moment. Get to that room, and this is what he says to me. He says, Lou, I think this is it. He says, the doctors can't do anything else. And I thought he was going to be angry and upset, because he used to be angry and upset as he's going through that treatment. Never wanted me to come when he's going to see the doctor. Always wanted to just tell you what the doctor said, didn't want you to get the facts. If you thought that something was wrong and he didn't look the way he thought he should look, right, he was angry with you because you thought that he was dying. I remember, he was 260 pounds. They removed his stomach. Now he couldn't eat. Could only eat little tiny amounts of food. And then he got himself down to probably 160 or 70 pounds. And boy, he was lifting his weights and he was doing all this work. He was working hard to get things in shape. And then he was bragging about how the people said, man, you really look like the picture of health. But he couldn't maintain it. I just saw him go down, 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 down. But when I sat in that room, he says to me, he says, Lou, I just want you to know I want to thank God for my cancer. And I'm like, whoa. That's what he said. And I said, what are you talking about, Colin? He says, because for the last 6 years, in this fight, he says, for most of it, I've just been laying up in my bed, just talking and listening to God. He said, I'm the one that introduced you to Christ. And I looked at your life and I see what God's doing with your life. He said, but I turned my back on God. And if he says, if it wasn't for this cancer, he said, I don't know what the end of my life would be. He says, but because of the cancer, I have strengthened my relationship with God, and now I'm ready to go to be with him. I'm like, whoa. Some people go out cursing. That's what he said. But he said something else. He said, now I need you to make me some promises. And he made a list of things that he wanted me to do for his family, for his children, for him. And we sat down and we talked about it. He says to me, he says, my daughter's graduating on June 24th. He says, I need you to promise me you'll be there. June 24th. I said, I'll be there, Colin. And we talked for the rest of that morning and into the late day until it was time for him to take his flight back home, never to return to America again. Doctors were done with him. Sending him home to die. And says his goodbyes to me. He looks just enough to try to get the head out. And he says, if you promise me, Lou, you're going to be there. He says, do you know what day? I said, the 24th of June. I'll put it in the picture. On the 11th of June, I got a call from his wife that says to me, Lou, if you want to see Kali again, you better get here today. Now, how do you get to the Turks and Caicos from Orlando, Florida in one day if you don't have a schedule? When you got to leave from here to Miami, from Miami to Providence, and then on to where he's at. So I said, I'll do my best. I was at work that night at the part-time job. I went in to see the manager, and I said, I gotta go. Don't know when I'll be back. I need some time off, and it's my week, 7 weeks. Teaching at the church, I called and said, look, I'm just gonna have to need some time off. I need a temp teacher or whatever that is, a substitute. I've got my substitute folder there, and I'm not sure when I'll be back. I will get you some contact information and let you know what's going on when I get home. And I started out driving to Miami to get on that plane the next day to get there. I get there. I didn't even go through the customs because, the Turks and Caicos, I just walked right through and I said, my name is Louis Taylor, and that's all I had to say. Just went, got into the taxi, and drove, tell him just take me directly to his hospital bed. I get to the hospital bed, and what I saw, I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. I saw him when he left Miami, and when I saw him curl up there, I'm like, what is this? And I sat at his bedside. I could have been one of Job's friends. And I sat at the bedside for an hour, not knowing what to say or what to do. Just praying and talking with God. But God had given me some music, and when I went to Miami that night, I played this music with Kali, and he got so excited. And I just sat there with my laptop. So all I did was I just decided, you know what, after 2 hours here, I turned the laptop on, I pulled that music out, and I started to play that music. And I got there. Now after 3 hours there, nobody came to the bedside, and so now I decided, I demanded that the nurse come. And I'm like, what's going on? I've been here for 3 hours, and nobody's come to the bedside to talk to my brother or anything else, or see if he needed anything, to give him a sip of water or what. What's going on? Is he just left here to die? I played that music for about an hour, praying at the bedside. Then I did something inside, you know what, I'm just going to talk to him. I just asked him a question. And I said, Kali, are you hungry? And he just, the weakest of the words, said yes. So I called him up and I said, look, you prepare this man some food. I don't care how you have to get it to him. But he said, and I said, look, and so I asked, I said, when was the last time you had something to eat? Did you have anything to eat today? No. Last yesterday? No. If you go back a week or 2 weeks, or whatever he could remember, nothing to eat. Just waiting for him to die. Played that little music. Then after spending about 5 hours at the hospital, it's time to go to the house. I go to, he has a little apartment built at his home. I go to the apartment that night, and I'm at the apartment now with my brothers. We all met at this place. They all came from the different islands. We all got there by that night. And something happened that night. I'm there. We get there in the morning. And early in the morning, we hear the door knocking. We get up to the door, nobody answers. We go back to lay down in bed. I hear somebody calling, Lou! Kali's voice. Door knocking. I'm like, it can't be. Can't even get out of his bed. He can't open his eyes. He can't sit down. So I jump up. I go back out. I open the door. Nobody's there. Pitch black. My brother sits sleeping in the little living area. I'm in the bedroom. And I get up again. I go back. I hear this thing again. He comes and says, Lou, did you hear somebody calling you? I said, yes, I've already come to the door 3 times. We go outside together. We walked around the place. No. So I said, hey, let's go. Let's get dressed. Let's get to the hospital. I get to the hospital, and Brother Charles, he's sitting in a wheelchair, eating some I don't know, Mrs. Norm, I don't know what it was, but I never had it in my life, but it's something that they were eating then. I guess I had already left the island for 30 years. They were eating some banana porridge. Oh, I don't know what that is. That's what he was eating. That's what he wanted to eat, and he was eating some banana porridge. And then he gets there and he says, Lou, thank you for playing that music for me. He says, when you started playing that music, something spoke to me, and I felt like my strength was coming back. Now he's in a wheelchair. And sitting down after the people at the hospital don't know what to do. And there he's out. Now he's talking like nothing is wrong with him. Mm-hmm. And then they're talking, now he wants to go home, and he says, don't leave until I get him set up at this house. So he wants me to get the special hospital beds, he wants to get the nurses to come, and those kinds of things. And so I got all that arranged, and away he went. Got him into his house, got him settled, and only thing he wants to know was, did I remember? Now this is now the 11th or 13th of June, and he says to me, Lou, you made me a promise in Miami. He says, you said you'll be here on the 24th. I said, because I just took the time off. I just left my job. And this is only the 13th. He said, but I didn't tell you to come on the 13th. He said, I told you to be there on the 23rd, on the 24th. He says, can I count on you? Will you be there? I said, don't worry, I'll figure it out. If I got to get another job, I'll do that. I'll be there. I left about the 15th or 16th of June. I returned home. And on the night of the 23rd, I get a call from his wife screaming. Now, the 22nd, because I'm supposed to come on the 23rd, the graduation is the 24th. She's screaming, Lou, you need to come now. Kali hasn't spoken in 2 weeks, and he got up today, and he's saying that, wow, where's Lou? I'm looking around, he's not here. Tell him to get here in a hurry. He promised me he'll be here on the 24th, and he's not here. So please, could you come? I'm like, how could I come? I can't swim, but I sort of think I'll die. I mean, come on, we got to let things happen. So I get on the plane in the morning, I go to Miami. I'm in Miami waiting, and I get this call again from her screaming. Kali said to hurry. The only thing he's talking about is, where are you? Where are you? He hasn't talked to anybody. He just wants to know, are you here? He's frailing and looking around the room. He wants to know, hey, where are you? Get on the plane. I get there. I bypass the customs again. I pull the tailor ring and onto the house. I get there. I get to the bedside and I don't recognize him at all. He looked at the hotel. At the hospital. His neck is probably as big as my finger. I can see every bone and every vein in this man's head and face. I'm looking at just a skeleton with skin over it. And I'm like, I've never seen nothing like it before. And his head is going everywhere. And I walked in that room and I said to him, Kali, this is Lou up here. I told you I'll be here on the 24th or 23rd. I'm in place. And I sat at the side of the bed, and his wife says, please, what is that music that you play? He says, because Kali's been asking for that music. The only thing he asked was, when are you coming? And he wants to hear the music that Lou's been playing. And she said, she gave me a stack of all these island CDs, about that much. She bought all these Jamaican CDs, everything that she thought he ever would like. And they played this music night after night. And turned that laptop on. I put the music out. I sat on the side of the bed. He dropped his head into my lap. He stopped that frailing. I could feel him just relax in less than 30 minutes ago. I was there. I made a promise that if somebody called me and told me that they were very sick and to please come, I'm not going to go.
Oh.
Because the last time, same thing happened. Pastor Omega called me. He was my Sunday school student for 20-something years. And I get a message from, I had left that church a long time now, probably 10 years. And I got a call from one of the guys there that says, Brother Omega is at the hospital and he wants to see you. I come to see Brother Omega. And once again, he gave me the story that he wanted me to do at his funeral. And there it was. I left the hospital room, and a day later, Brother Omega was gone. All right? But God will do some things. He'll put some things in your life, and you will then see that there's something going on in life other than what you think. And sometimes in our lives, we're too focused about our own little space, our own little business, and not focused on the other things. When I think about Jesus, I see something about his life. He voluntarily surrendered to the will of the Father. He says, not my will, but thy will be done. Most of us are more concerned about us. Right? Angels have rankings. They have names. They are personalities, we said. We said they have intellects. They have wills. You see, we saw the Archangel Michael. Angels are chief priests. You see it in Daniel chapter 10, verse 3. Alright, those angels there were the chief priests. Governmental rulers. Principalities. Romans chapter 8:38, Ephesians chapter 1:21, and the text we just read, Ephesians chapter 3, chapter 10. All of these verses indicate that the angels are highly educated, highly organized class of created beings. The Bible says we are created a little, what? Lower than the angels. So when you start thinking about how smart you are and how intelligent you are and the things that you can do, the angels are one step or maybe 2 steps, maybe 100 steps better than we are. And some of us really think that we got it on, boy, we know exactly how to do it and nobody will be able to figure it out. Other examples, authorities or powers. Some of these angels are placed in positions of authority and power. Hello, this country is being tested right now. God says He's the one that raises up leaders. He's the one that takes them down. And God puts up good ones and He puts up bad ones. So you see it all out through history, all right, to create or to do His purpose. Right about now we are tested. And if something doesn't happen and God doesn't intervene, I might have to move back to the 13 pages. Powers. 2 Peter chapter number 2, verse 11. In the text we read, we see powers. Alright? But Ephesians chapter number 1 and 21. Also in 1 Peter chapter number 3 and 22. I put these in these notes because I want you to go. I want you to put your eyes on these in your Bible. Because I want you to, when you walk away from this study, you come to a space in your life where you recognize that this is not just, a little somebody in white just flying around the sky with no purpose, nothing. Angels. I believe this. I believe that we all have a guardian angel. That's there around us, that protects us, that probably sends and say, go this direction home tonight. You normally go that particular way, but all of a sudden something just crosses your mind and says to you, never mind this path. For whatever reason tonight, take another path. You would never know why, because you didn't go. You'll see people, a lot of people tell you, wow, I was supposed to be on that flight. I have Ed Carter, preacher friend. He's a lot older than I. But if you guys look at, I don't know what the story about one of those universities in Virginia, that basically all of the football players on this flight died. Ed Carter was a linebacker on that team. And he was supposed to be going pro. He was probably one of the better players, one of the best players they had, and he broke his leg. He said he was so angry with God, he didn't know what to do. But because he had the broken leg, and they were traveling to the next game, and the flight was so long, and he couldn't sit in that position cramped up on that airplane, he was left behind. And the plane crashed. And everybody on the team, other than him and the other 1 or 2 people that didn't take the flight, perished. And so he has a ministry, life unto death. Because he says he should have been dead that night, along with his football friends. He never went pro, but God touched his life, and he was already a Christian guy, and he just started an evangelistic ministry. And so he preached all over the country, sharing his testimony and the grace and the goodness of God. And he says sometimes when we're faced with struggles, or we're faced with dilemmas, or we're faced with difficulties or setbacks, we don't understand them. And in that moment and at that time, we may even become angry with God. He was angry, he said, with God. Because he saw himself at one space set to make thousands. And then, in a short period of time, not even going to be drafted. And may never ever play the game again that he thought was going to be his livelihood. And then when this thing happens, he realized, oh my God, if I was at the peak of my game, and I was in the full health, I probably would have perished in this plane. And that was God's way to preserve him in order for him to do something that's more important than football. Some people never ever pivot in their life. Some people never get over their setbacks. Some people never realize and attributed them to the grace of God, the guiding hand of God, because that's what he says. The Bible says the steps of what? A good man are ordered by the Lord. So, Brother Charles, if you're a good man, God will order your steps. Step by step. Sometimes you may have to snatch the leg out and move it to the next reason, to the next phase. Sometimes you may have to cause something to happen so that you'll stop you from going down that wrong path at that exact moment. Puts those little angels in our steps, in our ways, in the form of people, family members, friends, sometimes just flat out strangers.
There's so many documentaries on the Twin Towers of so many people who didn't go to work that day, and they talk about all the things that had transpired because they didn't make it there.
Here you go. God is in total control. You'll hear the testimonies of all these accidents and plane crashes, and then somebody crawls out of the ashes.
Yes.
Because God is in control. Sister Norman, nothing can happen to us unless God ordains it or He allows it. Nobody can do nothing to us unless God ordain it or He allow it. Even if He didn't ordain it, He could stop it from happening. That might be their intention. They may have bad intentions, but God knows how, to protect us. The Bible says there is no temptation taken unto you, such as is coming unto God, but He's faithful. He will not suffer you to be tempted above you able, and He says with the temptation He'll leave a way to escape that we might be able to bear it. We say now, not only we have the archangels, we have powers, authorities, we have cherubim, seraphims. All of these are names associated with certain and specific angels in Scripture. And relation to it, when we come back next time, we're probably going to have to review that section, but we're going to spend some time talking about the ministry of angels. What is the purpose of the angels? What do the angels do? And you'll see that not only are angels have a ministry in relationship to God, they do work and things for God, but they do things for people. And look at your life. You will see, if you go down the road, you will see in relation to Christ, then you'll see probably in relation to the church, in relation to the second coming, and in relation to the world. God uses them in a specific number of ways. And He uses them in our lives. He uses them in our lives. Because I shared the outward testimony of my brother. But I see some other things that God did in his life that allowed him to be successful even in what he went through. And when you look at it, you would have to see it had to be the hand of God for him to meet this particular person at this particular time, for them to cut this particular deal so that he could get this particular amount of success, so that he could have been able to provide this for his family, so that the kids didn't have a need, even though he was gone at 44, 45, or 46 years old. But when you look at it, you have to come back and say, wow, that's God. That's God. Sister, only we ought to live a life that is pleasing to God on purpose. I want to get attention about our serving Christ. Mr. Charles, you do a super job with the videos. Sister Norma, I don't know what all you do at this church, but whatever it is, thank you for it. The pastor's wife is probably a harder job than the pastor. Hello? Because most people love the pastor, but they had to rip into the pastor's wife. But listen to me very carefully. I want to challenge this group that's here tonight. Live a faithful, fervent, full Christian life on purpose. Purpose that you're not going to look back, keep short accounts for sin. Forgetting, Paul says, those things that are behind. And allow Christ to be the purpose for your life. Allow Christ to be the pattern for your life. Allow Christ to be the prize of your life and the power of your life. And then you'll see your life impacting so many more. We'll continue our study in angelology next time. We won't change the rabbits because now I didn't want to get too deep into the notes, knowing that we're going to have to review them over the next time. So next time we'll start by just a quick, fast review, and then we'll get into the ministry of angels. And after we look at the ministry of angels, we'll toggle and we'll look at demons. And then when we looked at demons and we established that demons are real, you'd be surprised at how many believers that believe that there are no such thing as demons even today. Demons exist. They had a purpose and a plan, and we need to realize that happens. And then at the end, we'll look at Satan, the real foe that believer had. All right? Sometimes people believe that he's a nice friend, just encouraging us to have fun when he's trying to destroy our lives. Let us close up here and a quick one. It says, no, I'm sorry. I brought the beads. I was going to throw those green beads around my neck and teach this class. But then I would beg Brother Charles not to do a video of that. All right? So I don't know what that was all about, Sister Norma, but I figure you brought it, I'll wear it. All right? Let's just pray. Father God, we love you. We thank you for the Lord Jesus Christ. We thank you for this time of fellowship. Father God, as we look into the angelology, help us to understand that the angels have a specific ministry. And maybe from time to time, we've entertained them. And maybe they have entertained us, protected us, guided us, directed us for your honor and glory. Father God, now as we go to our separate homes, and we face the weather, that you'll give us driving mercy. You'll get us to our respective homes safely. Father God, you'll bring us back at the appointed time for worship and service. In Jesus' precious name, amen. The weather's terrible. Brother Charles, thank you.